You guys are in store for a treat. My name is Bradley Sutton. I'm joined by my partner in crime here, John, who I'll introduce in a second. But I want to make sure, as always, that everybody can see and hear us. You guys should see a screen right now that says, please stand by, webinar starting soon. So in the chat, you should be able to chat with the panelists. Give me a shout out, please. Let me know where you guys are calling from. And love to know how many of you guys are currently Helium 10 members, how many of you are currently selling on Amazon or brand new to Amazon. Let us know. I see, let me just see. You see some of these, John? Look at it. We got Jared from Los Angeles. What's
all
up?
over the place.
Chicago in the house, Minnesota. Jennifer from the OC, Orange County, Ukraine. All right, excellent. How's it going? We've got a few hundred people in here so far. Estonia, San Diego. Frank, you're near me. I'm here in
somebody from
San Marcos.
Hawaii. That's
Hawaii,
a good spot to be in.
Israel, New Zealand, Oregon, Armenia. All right, I've already seen about 10 countries. Montenegro. Excellent. India. My goodness, it's like 4 a.m. over there, I would think. Oceanside, California. What's up, N? I went to El Camino High School in Oceanside. Awesome. Singapore in the house. All right. It sounds like everybody can see and hear us, guys. So we are here to talk about PPC. Just kidding, guys. We're here. Wrong webinar. That's tomorrow. We're here to talk about inventory, guys. And so let me just show you guys. If you can go to the next slide there, John. This is the inventory management webinar. Some of you guys who are Helium 10 members, you already have seen something in your dashboard and have been sending some messages to customer support, like wondering what's going on. And you guys were probably directed, hey, come on Thursday to this workshop because we're going to explain all there is to know about this new tool. Plus, we're going to give you guys some great tips on inventory in general. But first of all, if this is your first time into our ecosystem, let me just introduce ourselves. My name is Bradley Sutton. I'm the Director of Training and Chief Evangelist here at Helium 10. I used to be on your side, guys. I've launched over 400 products before I joined the company. I'm the host of from right here in this room, the most listened to podcast in the world for Amazon sellers. Actually up to like 75,000 downloads a month now, and I have over 20 years of e-commerce experience. And the cool thing is, this is not a one-man show today. Actually, I'm going to be mostly in the background here. I'm joined by my partner in crime here, John. John, can you go ahead and introduce yourself to the audience?
Hey guys, excited to be here. This is my first webinar and showing off our tool. But John Geldo, I'm here, VP of Product here at Helium 10. I've worked on some of our new products you've seen throughout the past year, Market Tracker, mobile app, Alta, and have been working hard over the past few months on our new inventory management tool, which is inside of Profits, and excited to show the tool and give you a little bit of background about this problem.
Awesome. Now, real quick, guys, we saw there's people from all over the world listening. So I want to start off. We usually like doing some kind of giveaways and stuff. So guys, take a look at this. I'm about to put on right here. Hold on. Look at this. You guys can see this is a Helium 10 branded mask. All right. So it says Helium 10 here. So who would like Helium 10 branded mask? I see a lot of people raising their hand. Look at that. We got everybody raising their hand. All right. So here's what you do. What I want you guys to do sometime during this workshop, you get your phone out, take a selfie of yourself, watching the webinar, and make sure to tag on Instagram, an Instagram story. All right. Make sure it's this Instagram story so we can put it to ours. A Helium 10 software. So follow us on Instagram, Helium 10 software, and tag us there. You could also do it on Facebook and tag Helium 10. And we Cassandra, who is our social media manager, she'll repost most of them. And then she'll also be checking your DMs, guys. She's going to pick 3 of you to go ahead and send you this Helium 10 mask. We might have some other giveaways later. You can go ahead and tag me on Instagram there too, H10 Bradley. Helium 10 software is the main one that you want to do. So you guys are maybe wondering, what in the world are we here for? What are we going to talk about today? John, can you tell them what's in store for them today?
Sure. But I do want to touch upon one question we just had. We had someone ask us, will the Helium 10 mask protect us from hijackers? Will it protect us from hijackers? Yes.
Yes, it's hijacker proof.
Exactly. Yes, it's a new mask. It's a new product from Helium 10. So definitely get your Helium 10 mask. But yes, what are we going to talk about today? I think we have probably some experts on here, and we also have some people who haven't even started selling, they said. And so we got kind of a broad audience. So I just wanted to level set on what is inventory management, some of the challenges, some of these types of concepts and this framework. And then we'll get into this demo and get into the tool. And then finally, obviously, recap and get into a Q&A. But I think it is helpful to have a little bit of this intro, because before you get into seeing all these different screens, all these different assumptions, see what this tool is doing, I think we need that level set of what this is, what are some of the assumptions that we're making, what are some of these concepts. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. And so bear with us as we get through some of this introductory before we get into this demo. But what is inventory management? And at the very basic level, it's a process. It's a cycle. It's kind of a never-ending sort of cadence of continuing to keep your inventory in stock. And if we start from the very beginning, if we're a brand new seller, I think the first step, obviously, is starting to understand, hey, I have a product that I might want to sell. I need to figure out a type of order or amount that I want to purchase. And so kind of can start out with some sort of projection. Eventually, you're going to need to get into purchasing, and this gets into working with some sort of supplier, creating a purchase order, buying this inventory, managing it as it gets shipped to you or shipped to Amazon. And then it's eventually replenishing. And there's that process of creating those inbound shipments and actually telling Amazon that this inventory is coming. And the majority of our customer base is doing a lot of, FBA fulfillment. And so this is a very crucial piece of your overall inventory management process. And then finally is the fun part, and selling to customers and growing your business and seeing those products go out the door, and obviously growing a successful business. But it just keeps going. This is a cycle. And so as you start selling, now your inventory is being depleted, and now you need to start this process all over again. And that's kind of a point here, is all these pieces and all these parts of the cycle are constantly changing. Maybe you start selling more. Maybe you have a new purchase order coming in, and you got to kind of manage this. And one piece, does affect the others. If you have more sales, that means you got to buy more inventory next time. If you have an inbound shipment, that helps you replenish later. But it's definitely a full-time job as an Amazon seller, and especially as you get larger, you got more SKUs, it becomes an even more a bigger and bigger challenge. And so I'm seeing the different, okay. So yeah, so here we go in terms of the challenges of inventory management. And there's so many sellers that have problems with inventory management. And I think it's something that we just heard over and over again, and that's why we're so excited about this product.
Let's see for a second, John. Guys, is that an accurate statement? Anybody on here who's already selling on Amazon, is like inventory like not a headache at all? Maybe this is a waste of time. Anybody, let us know in the chat. Has anybody struggled in the past with this? Steve says it's our biggest challenge. Kat says it's a big headache. Brian says it's a full-time job. Andrea says it's a headache. A lot of headaches here. Alex says it's always, look at that. So what John says is completely accurate. This is what we thought, guys. This is a real problem out there. I've experienced it myself. So I'm glad to see that. Josh says it's his biggest obstacle. This is great. Victor says excited to see this. All right, John. Sounds like this is you're a sight for sore eyes here.
Yeah, and so we'll get into this. It's a huge problem managing this cycle, but it just becomes more and more complex of not just what I should order, like a quantity, but also when I should order, right? It's getting the timing right. Sometimes you might get the perfect amount, you just order it too late, or you order it too soon, things like that. But we can get into just kind of the problems of what to order, right? And so there's many different issues that turn into some sort of problem that you have, which cause obviously some bad sort of results. But you can have ordering too little, which might happen because you have last minute sales spikes. You didn't take that into account into your last order. Maybe you're not factoring in your past stockouts, and so you're saying like, oh, I had lower sales previously, and so I only need to order 400. But if you actually factored in stockouts and things like that, maybe you would know, oh, I need to order 500 or something like that. And so if you're ordering too little, obviously you're stocking out, you have lost sales, maybe you have lost ranking. You might have to be paying more to get back and sort of get back into that ranking that you once had. I just saw in the chat, people were talking about, hey, I lost momentum. I was growing, and then it just kills my momentum and it becomes harder to get back into the cycle. There's also ordering too much. And maybe you think you're ordering more or you're selling more previously, maybe because of a sales spike, or maybe you were just not factoring the right types of lead times, and then you tie up working capital. You have increased storage fees. You might have to discount some of your inventory to clear excess, but definitely some huge problems here with ordering too little or ordering too much. And then there's also problems with timing, right? Going back to getting the right amount, but maybe just didn't time it right. And it can cause those same types of problems with tying up excess capital or lost ranking or increased cost to rush a shipment. And all that adds up. All that's part of your overall profitability, overall success. And so this is a key part of managing your business. So I just wanted to kind of get into a more practical example and just give you sort of a super small individual sort of real world example. And so let's just say we start with one SKU. You're a new seller, right? You have some sort of inventory, but it really gets into you're starting to have it depleted by your sales, right? And let's say there's some sort of, in the future, you're going to get, eventually you're going to run out of stock. And so this is a problem you need to figure out, when that's going to happen. You need to reorder your inventory at some certain time. But what happens if you have two SKUs, right? That's a little bit simpler when you can kind of focus on one SKU and you have one type of lead time, you have one type of like forecasted velocity and things like that. But now we have two SKUs, they got different, they're being depleted at different rates. They might run out of stock at different times. They might come from different suppliers. What if you have 4 SKUs? Now this gets even harder. What if you have 40? I just saw someone in the chat say, hey, I'm up to 50 SKUs now. I'm sure it's taking a long time to manage that inventory. But Bradley, I know you've had a ton of experience managing different types of businesses. I know you have friends who are managing businesses like this. Have you seen problems with this?
Yeah, I mean, we deal with that stuff. A lot of people here, even I heard some in the chat, are watching Project X. We've dealt with issues on Project X. There's only two products. I've dealt with wholesale accounts. Wholesale accounts that maybe have 300 SKUs that you're trying to keep in stock, and it looks like this. It's not every single SKU, whether you have 2 or 300. Not every product has the same exact sell-through rate. Not everyone has the same lead time. I mean, everything is different. So this is definitely a headache I've had to deal with.
Yep. Yeah, I think that's a huge thing where they might come from different suppliers. There's different lead times. There's different sell-through rates, MOQs, many different sort of variables that you're having to manage. And so they're all constantly changing. So today it's one status, and then tomorrow it's going to be different. The next day it's going to be different. And so that makes it even more complicated. And I'm seeing a bunch of people say this is my largest problem. And we have people on here that are also saying they have 1,000 SKUs. So just incredible sort of businesses we have here. But overall, it's a huge challenge. But how are people trying to solve this right now? I think this is what's exciting to us. First way you can kind of start to manage this is intuition. Wouldn't recommend this. Maybe you all are smarter than I, but if you're starting to manage 1,000 SKUs, I definitely don't think you can manage with intuition. It's free, but it's hard to manage with a lot of SKUs, and it's hard to manage that constantly updating schedule and new Amazon quantities, new sell-through rates, all those sorts of stuff, all those sorts of things. I know Bradley has been doing Project X kind of like this, and maybe we'll see in a moment, but he's had a few stockouts doing this way.
Yeah, I guess I'm not very intuitive enough to be able to do it like this, and there's a few maybe savants or something out there, but I'm pretty sure most of you guys who have used this method, you've probably run into some problems because it's just not that, while it's free, it's just not that effective of a way to manage your inventory.
Yep. And so there's obviously, you kind of move on to maybe a slightly more advanced way to do this. Maybe you're pulling order reports. Maybe you're trying to kind of get some some basic sell-through rates. You're trying to build out some complex spreadsheet to try and manage this. Again, this becomes hard if you have a lot of SKUs. A lot of times you have to manually pull data. And it's also not end-to-end. It's not tracking like your purchase orders. It's not tracking your inbound shipments. It's not updating those quantities as it moves through that cycle of that process. And not all of us are Excel or spreadsheet wizards. And so they can get quickly messy and outdated and maybe even hard to set up. And so then there's finally software tools. And this is maybe you've gotten so frustrated that you realize, hey, I just need to pay for something like this. And they're definitely more powerful. There's definitely competitors out there. They stay up to date with latest changes from Amazon. A huge benefit of using a software tool is it'll pull in information for you and keep you updated. But some of them are not end to end, right? They're still making you do manual entry. Maybe they'll give you some sort of forecast, but then you got to type in quantities for purchase orders and move things over to inbound shipments yourself. Some of them are not flexible, right? They have kind of just basic, use a 30-day forecast for my entire set of SKUs, which all these different SKUs might have different sort of factors and things that are happening. Maybe they have one lead time, and so it's not flexible to say, hey, I got lead times that are different from these set of SKUs versus these SKUs. And also they don't have, I think we're definitely unique in terms of everyone else is kind of using these concepts of velocities, which we can get into in future slides, but it's just simple averages. And it's not very, if you're flatlining an average going forward, it's not very intuitive and it's not going to reflect real world types of situations. And I see tremendous amount of people adjusting their velocities or adjusting their sort of recommendations because the forecasting models are just not that good. Also, it can be expensive, right? Not only is it an additional subscription on top of Helium 10, but maybe they're just charging you for US. And you only get the US marketplace, but none others. And if you wanted, Canada, you'd have to buy a whole nother subscription. And maybe they also charge you by orders, where it's like if you're growing your business, you got 10,000 orders, they're going to move you up to an additional payment plan. And then it's just not integrated. Again, it's a separate tool from your Helium 10 workflow. And there's just another thing to log into, another thing to manage, another thing to connect. And so it can be a headache. I've talked to a few customers that say, this is the one other thing that we pay for besides Helium 10. So that's what we're excited about today, Helium 10 inventory management. And we see so much opportunity here. We're just getting started, but we're already super powerful. We have this end-to-end solution that manages that whole cycle that I went through earlier, from forecasting to purchase orders, to inbound shipments, to monitoring your sales. And we have a huge value here too. We can get into the limits, but we support multiple marketplaces, United States, Mexico, and Canada. You can manage it all within one dashboard, and we have plan limits by SKUs. And so I know 7-figure sellers that manage their business with a few SKUs, and that could fit right within the Platinum plan. So some tremendous value in our product.
Speaking of the Platinum plan, how many of you guys out there are already a Helium 10 member, whether it's Platinum, Diamond, or whatever, and have seen this in your dashboard and started playing around with it this week? We kind of like usually we'll save it until the actual day that it release. Mattis says yes. Rami doesn't see it yet. All right, guys, it's in your. See, we kind of like slid under the radar, so we'll tell you exactly where to see it, but it's there. Some of you guys are saying you don't see it, but it's there. Yeah. We were kind of sneaky about this. So, all right, cool. Keep going, John.
Yeah, and definitely check. We also have to say it's again, it's for United States, Mexico, and Canada. And so if you're just an EU seller, we're working on support quickly, but it's right now for North American sellers. So that might be why some people might not be seeing it. But if you have a North American token, go into profits and you'll see all these new tabs. Again, we keep your quantities up to date across the life cycle, purchase orders, inbounds. We have advanced forecasting models, and it's integrated into our all-in-one super powerful Helium 10 suite. We just keep adding more and more and more tools. And so we're trying to support sellers across their life cycle as they grow. And so we're excited about inventory management. but we're here to make it easy. As people are saying, this is their number one problem. It takes them a ton of time. And so we're here to, make it easy for you and save you time. So before we get into this demo, just want to get back right into a few concepts, help lay the groundwork for what we're going to be seeing in the tool. And we can go back to that last SKU example, right? You have some sort of inventory, and eventually it's going to run out of stock at some point, right? But this assumes some sort of simple, future sales. And we don't really know that. We don't know when this is going to happen because we don't know our future sales. And how do you estimate this, right? Some people might say you might use some sort of like, oh, I've had this much sales in the past and I'll just do that in the future. But really, you need to figure out what your future sales are. And what this is forecasting. And so, as I've mentioned before, many of these competitors use this concept of velocities. It sounds really cool. It sounds, advanced. But really what it's doing is just, it's a simple average. And this is an example. This is actually the FBA coffin that Bradley sells. And I just took his actual sales and I computed these sort of velocities that people are saying. And so you could see what a 7-day average would look like, a 15-day average, 30-day, 60, 180-day. And you see these lines on the right-hand side that kind of just shows where you would project that out in the future. And it's all just a straight line average. And then people use that to say, okay, I was selling this much over the past 30 days. I'm just going to assume that happens in the future. But it's just averages, and it doesn't take into account a lot of different ways in which sales and future velocities can change. And so that's what we're here to do. And if you saw our June 30th webinar, we're trying to level up things. And so we're leveling up forecasting. And we have 2 new advanced forecasting models. First one is Helium-10 Exponential. And this is our default Helium-10 model. If you've gone into the tool, this is how all your SKUs are being forecasted currently using this model. And you can, of course, change it, but this is the one we set to start giving you restock suggestions right from the start. And this is a good one for SKUs with less data points or have unstable sales. And I just showed you, Bradley's FBA coffin, and it's only been selling for less than a year. And so this is probably a good model for him to project out into the future. But if he was a longer term SKU, a longer term product, you might want to go towards the Helium-10 additive model, which is good for SKUs with longer sales history, ones with 1+ years of sales. And it does a better job of trends and seasonality. And we'll see that in a bit, but it's kind of really exciting to see how much different this is than just straight up velocities. And so we can go into the exponential, right? And we're doing some really cool things here where you see your actual sales, which is the kind of light blue line. And then we have adjustments, and we're doing these sort of advanced adjustments to adjust for stockouts. And you'll see some of these periods, January 2020 to around March, Bradley was stocked out, and we adjust for that, which helps project our future sales because it says, hey, you weren't selling 0 because no one was buying your product. You were selling 0 because you didn't have any inventory in stock. And so you need to adjust for these types of things to make a more normalized and more run rate type sales. And so we're making sure to adjust for these things to help make our future projections even better. And here we're seeing Bradley's just killing it with these coffin shelves. What a ridiculous find. If you want to learn more about his sort of ideation and sourcing of this, you can check out our Project X episodes. But you're seeing here since mid-July, he's just had sort of tremendous growth. He's selling like 30 per day sometimes. And it's growing. And so the cool thing here is our future forecasted exponential model is taking into account this growth. It's not just flatlining things with a simple average, and it understands better than just doing a velocity. So wanted to highlight just an example of the exponential model. We also have the additive model, and again, highlighting a different product. This is from a different seller, but it's had a long sales history, but you can clearly see it has seasonality. And it has sales spikes you see it around December's, and you see it in May. Maybe it's a Mother's Day product and things like that. But if we were to do some sort of straight line average, you probably would have projected out, 20 units per day for this SKU or something like that. But this additive model understands that this is a seasonal product, and it shows this tremendous growth that happens around December. And so you're not going to be able to get this with a flat straight line average. These advanced models take into account these types of factors, and we'll use up to 2 years of sales history to help forecast growth curves, seasonality. We'll adjust for stockouts, and we do even more. But
What's
we're
the
just
default,
getting,
John? Like, or what would you suggest for newer ones? Newer sellers?
yes. So I think our default model is exponential. And so all your SKUs, if you first time using the tool, you'll see the exponential model is being used for all those SKUs. But again, a seller who has a seasonal product, who expects large amounts of sales coming in around this period, would definitely recommend moving to an additive model. And that's how you'll get this sort of seasonal growth curve and help you project out your sales much better than the exponential might. We're having some questions for new product launches with no sales history. Again, that, exponential, I can show you a few in our demo, which people are asking about, like, what happens if you only have a few days of sales or you don't know yet? If you don't have any sales, that's not something that we can really help with. I think that's one of the biggest challenges that any seller is going to face, but it really is going to need to rely on your intuition, rely on your sourcing, what you're thinking about your keywords, what you think the opportunity is, and also your constraints with your supplier. But from a practical sort of modeling standpoint, we're not just going to be able to say, you should exactly order this with no sort of sales history, but definitely a difficult challenge. And that's kind of the advice I'd give on that. But we do have, I think the really cool thing about the exponential model is that it does help with shorter time periods. And I can show an example of Bradley's just sold a few units, and we already start to project out some interesting forecasts.
Make sure, guys, to keep writing your questions down. Don't necessarily put it in the chat just yet. Write it down, because we're going to have a dedicated Q&A session right at the end of this, but in about 20 minutes or so, where you guys can get all your questions out. We might even be able to bring you guys on audio and ask your questions live. So make sure to write it down. If you put it there now, it might get lost because there's so many things coming in. We're not seeing them all. So just make sure to write everything down, guys.
Yep. And real quick, some people were asking about how long is it pulling in sales history? We'll pull in 2 years of sales history. If you joined Helium 10 today, we'll pull back your sales history for a long period of time. If you've been with us for a while, obviously we'll already have that sales history. And so our models will always take that into account to help you project out. So let's say we've come up with a forecast now. We're using Helium 10 additive or Helium 10 exponential. And now we've project out when this product is gonna go out of stock. But now we have to figure out how much to order, what are we gonna order, and when are we gonna order it? And the two big inputs that go into this are lead time and reorder frequency. And so you need to start having some sort of standardized way to tell the software how to give you suggestions, right? And so you need to give us some sort of way to say, hey, this is what I expect my lead time to be. This is how frequently I want to order. And it's kind of that Jerry Maguire, help me, help you type moment. So lead time is really about, how long does it take to get your products, right? It's manufacturing, it's payment, it's customs clearance, shipping to your end destination, processing, any potential delays. You definitely need to be factoring those types of things. And then there's this other concept of reorder frequency. So this is a time between, hey, my shipment arrives, and when do I want to place my next order, right? I want to have a little bit of breathing room until I'm not just like getting a shipment and immediately placing another one, right? Some people want to have a little bit of buffer to just move on to other tasks and allow their product. And so
real quick, I just want to throw something out there. Now we're entering a Q4. A couple of my case studies, guys, that I've been doing. Some of the lead times have been ridiculous. Like I've been doing this one case study where it's now all of a sudden they're so backed up, it's like taking 60 days. But I'm just curious. We're gonna have an example soon of kind of like a generalized scenario that John is going to show. But if you guys in the chat, throw me, what's your current lead time from your factory, factory right now? Like from the time you put in the order, how long does it take for it to be ready to ship? Ooh, so we got 7 weeks.
Wow.
Someone said 90 days from Peter. Oh, Peter, elite member. What's up, Peter? How's it going? 15 weeks. Good grief.
Wow.
8 weeks, 60 to 90 days. Chris says my first order took 90 days.
Yep.
Carlos says 3 days. So obviously Carlos is manufacturing his garage, or he's sourcing right here. Right here. We all want Carlos's lead time. Look at the range here, John. This is
Wow.
pretty crazy.
Yeah, and you know, I tried to enter in some potential ranges for each of these components, and you really should think about it as components. And I wanted to really highlight this. A big reason why people run out of stock is they don't factor in like, hey, I thought this was gonna take 30 days and it ended up taking 90, right? You're gonna run out of stock if you're not accurately figuring out your lead times, right? And as we're seeing in the chat right now, we're seeing people say, 14 days, we're seeing people say 90 days. It really depends. And so you need to give a little bit of thought here and understand what cadence you can get your products. But there's big pieces here, which is manufacturing. Obviously, it takes time for your supplier to create these products. You need to, if you're sourcing them internationally, there's time for freight, whether that's by sea or by air. You need to get it through customs and clearance and that sort of process. Then there's maybe moving that delivery into an end destination, whether that be FBA or your own warehouse. And then there's obviously some time for FBA processing. And I know there's tons and tons of people, if you look on Seller Central forums, talking about how long it takes for things to be checked in. And so you definitely need to factor in that as well before your products, like maybe you got it to the warehouse today, but Amazon doesn't allow the product to start selling for 2 weeks. That's a problem. So at the bottom here, you see obviously there could be delays in any process here. And then it might change based upon peak versus off peak, right? Something in the summer might be different than sourcing for this upcoming Q4 and Chinese New Year and different things like that. So Bradley, I know we saw some different ranges. Do you have kind of a general sort of timeline of how long it takes for your products to get sourced?
The coffin shelves, it's been pretty I'm thankful that's pretty standard. Like I'll put in an order. Actually, we just placed another order for 2,000 coffin shelves. I put that order in I think almost 2.5 weeks ago, and it's going to be ready to ship next week. And then usually it takes about 2.5 weeks to get to the California port. The thing that's been taking a long time, I've never experienced stuff like this before, is after it clears customs, it's been taking sometimes 2 weeks just to get to me. And where my warehouse is only an hour away from the port. So that I don't understand. So things fluctuate for sure. I just talked to, just recorded a podcast with a couple UK sellers. So I know we're going to be, expanding out to the UK for the inventory later, but you guys have to deal with a lot longer shipping times. I didn't realize that, it takes, instead of 2.5 weeks, like it takes things to get from China to the States, it actually takes a month to a month and a half to get things to the UK or for Amazon Europe. So you guys are experiencing some longer ship times. Real quick, I just wanted to give a shout out. I didn't realize we're live on YouTube as well, and I see a lot of names here in the chat. So we don't see your chat completely. I'm looking at it now. So Scott and Matthew, Andrew, give us a thumbs up right there. If you guys are watching this on YouTube, make sure to share it on yours and welcome. This is our first time we're ever doing a live. We're live broadcasting a webinar also to YouTube as well. So this is kind of historic moment.
All the different channels. Yes, welcome YouTube audience as well. Good to have you guys on. So real quick, also want to touch upon, there could be differences here depending on how you manage your inventory, right? So if you're doing direct shipments in from your supplier and you're going right into Amazon, we call that a kind of a direct shipment. But if you're doing things where you're shipping to an intermediate warehouse at some point, your local warehouse or 3PL, maybe you don't need to factor in, those FBA processing times. There would be an additional sort of lead time when you're actually transferring your inventory in later. But in terms of reorder recommendations from your sort of supplier, maybe you cut out that sort of FBA processing time and deal with the transfers at a later point. And so we offer that sort of ability to just focus on local shipments if you want, and then transfer later, or direct process. But you need to be thinking about those depending on how you kind of manage your inventory and adjust your lead times accordingly. So lead times are really what are helping you figure out the when, right? We have some sort of forecasted amount of sales, and you're going to run out of stock at some point based upon that forecast. And now you need to work backwards from that, right? So let's just say we're going to run out of stock on day 30. Well, if we had a 20-day lead time, well, we need to order on, day 9, right? So that would be our last day to order based upon our given lead time. Maybe you want to play it safe and you order on day 3, right? You don't want to like run it to the very last day, but you'll at least know when I should order based upon a given lead time. And now we need to get into what. And if you combine this lead time with a reorder frequency, that helps you figure out the what. And so I need to cover for my lead time, and then I also want to cover for the reorder frequency time, or that sort of buffer zone or that sort of breathing room. And that's really what tells you I should order on this date, and then I want to cover this amount of time, and then you'll start to get into a cadence. And so I think it's best to just show that with a quick interactive example. And so I prepared this kind of simple model here that kind of shows this more visually. And so you'll see, let's just say we're day 1, where, September 10th, we got 500 units, right? Let's say our future forecast velocity is just keeping it simple. Again, this is not all exact science, but just gives you a visualization. But let's say we're selling 10 per day, and our lead time is 20 days, right? So we're seeing 500 units is eventually going to run out of stock around October 30th. And so if our lead time is 20 days, we want to order 20 days before that, right? And then we also want to cover enough for 30 days of this reorder frequency, right? If we did 5 days, we still want to order 20 days before we're going to run out of stock, but we order less, the what becomes less because we only need to cover this much and then a little bit of reorder frequency. If we did, 60 days, we're going to order same time again, but we're going to order more inventory. So we're going to place an order for 800 units on this date, and it's going to last us a much longer period of time, right? And so that's kind of how these assumptions are visually changing things. It's telling us when to order and how much to order. If our lead time was shorter, right, we'd order at a later date, and we'd order a little bit less because we don't need to cover as long of a lead time, and we can, obviously factor in our reorder frequency. So that's just giving a kind of quick example of how these assumptions visually map out to what you're ordering and when you're ordering. And like you're seeing, it's a cadence. And so we're putting it in order here. It's going to last us for a while, and then it'll eventually need to be ordered again. And so again, we'll have some sort of lead time before we run out, and then we'll have some sort of period of time where we're off managing other tasks. And this isn't an exact science. I'm kind of assuming these are all just available units and they're immediately replenished within your warehouse. But let's just say your lead time is 20 days. Maybe it gets there this day, and then actually gets kind of processed within Amazon at this time, and then becomes available to sale by this time, right? So that's kind of the visual representation of how these factors work. But let's go into an example again of that assumes some sort of perfect, consistent sales velocity, right? We're having this sort of major assumption that it's 10 units per day and it's always going to be 10 units per day. I don't think any one of us have that consistent of sales. And so this, again, what we're talking about is you always need to be staying up to date with changes, and you need to factor in those changes as you move through. So let's say, I had this much inventory, I'm selling. I place an order, and I place this order of 500 units based upon my lead time, reorder frequency, and sales velocity. But what happens if my sales velocity changes, right? Originally, I think this inventory was going to last me 50 days, and I'd have to order on the 28th, right? I think it's the 28th. But what happens if maybe my sales change around the 5th or something? So what if my sales pick up, right? Well, now what I thought was going to last me 50 days, well, things changed in the middle of this time period, and I started selling more. Well, the beauty of our systems is that we'll pick up these changes in sales velocity, and we'll constantly be giving you new forecasts every single day to adjust for any changes in your sales velocity. If we have a new forecast coming in, if you have any changes in lead times. But here we said, oh, I started selling more on the 15th. And if you look at it with our original forecast, you would have said, hey, I'm going to order on the 26th or something like that. But if my sales started picking up, I'm going to actually have to order on the 13th, right? And so Helium 10 tool will tell you, hey, you started selling more, our forecasts have changed. We're going to move up that order date for you. And so we're always kind of like constantly monitoring. We're always on top of it. And just because you might have thought that it might last you a little bit longer previously, we'll tell you, hey, you might need to order earlier. And so we always kind of help keep a new cadence going forward and help manage these to always keep you in stock. So just wanted to, I think overall, let you know kind of the overall visualization of lead time and then what you're covering for reorder frequency and how that factors into when and how much you should order. And so we can go back to the presentation. But that was our quick interactive visualization. And we've kind of covered the basics, these main sort of factors of how we're doing restock suggestions. And so those are the ground rules, the lead times, reorder frequency, forecasting. This is the what and the when. And so we're kind of getting into these core pieces of selling and forecasting, but now we need to close this loop. But I think it's a perfect time for demo. And so I'll move over to the demo here. And here we are. And some of you might have seen our dashboard changed. We gave a facelift to these existing pages, just keeping things consistent with the new theme. We got our controls up in consistent manner. You can always get your marketplace at the top right. We added some improvements to persist the period that you want to see. And so every single time you reload the page or go between pages, it'll always keep the same period. But that's the dashboard. We have these new pages. If you are a user with a North American token, as we mentioned, you'll see these new inventory management tabs. And I think the biggest and most important is the restock suggestions. And this is really trying to key you in on the what and the when, right? And so the when is the reorder date, and how many you should order is the what. And so those are kind of like your two main columns that we help you manage when you should be ordering these things. And then we're starting to get into these sort of zones of when you should order and give you some more easily visual cues to say like, hey, you should order now, or it's in stock, or this is upcoming. And so we have different types of statuses, which is order now, order soon, which is you should order this within the next 8 to 14 days. Order now is kind of now to within 7 days. And then in stock means you have a little bit of breathing room until you need to make your next order. We got these summary cards up top to tell you, hey, we got some 2 urgent restocks. We got some cost that's associated with this. I think one big part of inventory management is actually having the capital to be able to purchase these things. If you had any sort of order soon products, they would be showing up here. And then we also keep you informed in this dashboard of, hey, you might have some open purchase orders and some kind of capital tied up in open costs. But we got, this is Bradley's Project X account. He's starting to sell some new sort of variations of his FBA coffin, his sort of hero seller. And I think right now we're in pretty good shape. He's got a lot of stock coming in a purchase order. He's got a little bit inbound, and he's still got some units available for sale. But yeah, so we talked about these 2 big columns right here, which is the when we should order, what we should order. And I think those are really driving off of some factors here, which is talking about that entire cycle of where your inventory is at any moment. And so we have current, which is kind of like your available inventory. And it's not just the available, it's FC transfer and FC processing. That's what we mean by current, which is kind of a better approximation of what is sitting in an Amazon warehouse. If things are being transferred, it's not technically available for sale, but it's still closer to becoming available for sale than a true inbound shipment or something like that. We have our inbound shipments, so things that are being sent into Amazon, but we also take into account working status shipments. We have on order, which is things coming in from purchase orders. And then we'll even take into account local warehouse inventory. And so our restock suggestions are always taken into account, no matter where your inventory is in this life cycle, it'll take into account. But let's
that's critical, guys. Like that's,
yeah.
you know, like, I hope you guys are getting excited about this, because that's something that you don't have, you know, unless you have some advanced Excel metrics or whatever. You know, Amazon has its own kind of like, you know, restock suggestions and things, but it does not take into consideration, you know, like your local inventory in your warehouse and things like that. You know, sometimes you look at your inbound and you're like, okay, this is what I have, but really there's a whole bunch, you know, stuck in FC transfer. We're showing you guys all of that here so that you're not blind to the actual situation. You have a really clear picture, more than you've ever had before, about exactly how many you need, and not only how many you need to order, but where you need it. You know, like you see that transfer now. I have to do that right now. This is live data right now. I didn't realize the egg tray is kind of low. It knows that I've got 160 here in my warehouse. It's like saying, hey, Bradley, you better transfer that to Amazon. And by the way, at the same time, you're kind of excuse me, you're kind of low overall. You need to order some from your factory, guys. This is like
Mm-hmm.
crazy.
Mm-hmm.
We have this level of visibility. So I hope you guys are pumped about this, because this is so exciting.
Yeah, and I think that full life cycle, again, like I said, there's a lot of times where you might have created a shipment or you might have something on order, but your solution might not take that into account unless you're manually entering these types of quantities. And so as you start to use this more, as you create purchase orders, as you create inbound shipments, we'll keep those and track those and make you, you know, give you the most accurate sort of forecasts possible and recommendations. And so, you know, for different users, you know, you might have more SKUs than this. Bradley's only has a couple being sold here. And depending on your plan, you might have certain limits on the number of SKUs that you'll see in these restock suggestions. But you know, you can always add in more SKUs and say, hey, I want to start getting suggestions for these, you know, another SKU that I might have started selling or something like that. Or maybe I want to, you know, remove a SKU and say, hey, I don't want any suggestions on this anymore. I'm not going to sell it. And so you can kind of keep this list clean to how you want to view your different SKUs, but you can add and subtract depending on your business and sort of your plan limits. And so like, let's say you have 50 SKUs, our plan limit for platinum users is 20 SKUs. And so like, maybe you want to focus on your most highest selling products and get restock suggestions on that. And you can do that with your adding of SKUs or removing SKUs to make sure this list is sort of focused. Another really cool feature is obviously you can, you know, filter by the types of statuses. You know, for those people that have 1,000 SKUs, I think managing what you want to look at any point in time is really important. And so you can look at it by where some of these SKUs are coming from. You can organize it by suppliers. You can have, you know, we have this concept of favorites within profits. And so, you know, you can search. And so it just helps you kind of organize and look at the SKUs you want to look at and become faster and more efficient with what types of products you want to focus on. Another huge thing that's here is giving you more visibility into why we're saying what we're saying, right? And so we have this cool new interactive reorder detail modal, which gives you kind of, hey, this is all the history we've pulled in for your SKUs. And then we'll get into what is your forecast and how have we adjusted it for stockouts. And it kind of gives you a great sort of way to quickly analyze what we're kind of thinking for this product, right? You can see what is my lead time and what is my reorder frequency that I put in and how much I want to cover. And so then we have our projection, we have our lead time, we have our reorder frequency. And then we also take into account what are all the different quantities that we have. And then that's how we're coming up with our reorder units and how much we should order. And this will change every single day, right? And so Today it's 540. Maybe we sell some. You know, tomorrow it'll probably tell us to order 545. You know, let's say the FBA coffin, it's 1408 today. If anything changes with our forecasts or our sales or new shipments come in, it would change our sort of recommended reorder units as well. And so as you get closer to this reorder date, it's going to start saying, hey, you might need to order now. You need to take this into account and put in an order. And so that's the reorder detail modal. And I just want to talk about, you know, again, we had these sort of this concept of lead time, reorder frequency, and things like that. Well, our tool is super flexible, and I just want to cover a little bit of how we do that. And so we have these lead times that we talked about, which was 60 and 60, but we started everyone out across the board with kind of your account level assumptions, right? These aren't the most accurate. These aren't the most specific to your SKUs, but it at least allows us to get a baseline in terms of what we should recommend you to order and when you should order it. And those settings can be changed in your settings page. And so Bradley kind of set his defaults as 45-day lead time and 35-day reorder frequency. And if we never change anything else, you could still get restock suggestions based upon that. But the goal is to obviously get the most accurate and the best recommendations possible. And if you want to do that, you can add in more specific assumptions for each supplier. And then you can go down to specific assumptions for every single SKU, right? It takes more inputs, but it'll probably give you better restock recommendations, restock suggestions. And so you could change your store level settings here in the settings page. And this will affect each token. And so you might have multiple tokens. And so you could have different sort of assumptions for each token. And then you can even go into suppliers and have a supplier level inputs. But you can even go into SKU level inputs. And we'll go into suppliers in a moment, but I just want to talk to you about this new product page, which is a cool new area which kind of organizes all your different assumptions and information related to the SKU in one place. And so you can kind of see, is this being sold on Amazon? What's the ASIN, SKU, you know, product title? You know, is this a favorite of your product? You can attach a supplier here of where does this SKU come from, your product costs. And then this is kind of like where you can manage all your sort of forecasting inputs. And so, you know, you can have specific lead times just for this SKU. In our settings, we have overall 45 and 35, but we overrode those with specific settings for this SKU. And so Bradley set this as 60 days and 60 days. He's even added case packs and MOQs. And so this will also round your suggestions. If we go back here, you'll see, right, the exact number was 534, but we rounded it to 540 because of Bradley put in, hey, it's ordered in cases of 20. And so I want suggestions based upon that case pack amount. We can even change our models here. You know, we allow people to use averages if they want to. If you want to get back to a straight line forecast, you can. But this is where you would change your model and update based upon that. And then you can also select, is this a forecasted SKU or not? It's the same thing as going to adding a SKU or removing a SKU. So you can also do that right from this product page.
So default, John, what is everybody who's got the platinum plan now? Let's just, you know, how do they make sure to add the SKUs that they want to be forecasted? Because, you know, some people are saying in the chat, oh, I don't see, you know, the same thing. It's probably because they don't have them activated yet, you know, some of the SKUs activated. So what's the simplest way for people who are following along right now that they can just start forecasting the SKUs that they want to?
Yeah, and so what we did as we were ramping this up behind the scenes, prepping for launch, let's say you're a platinum member and again, you have 50 SKUs. The limit for platinum plan members is 20 SKUs. And so we selected your top 20 products by sales, and those are the ones that are showing up in your restock suggestions. If you want to add different SKUs, you would first, let's say you want to switch out 5 of them, you would remove 5 of them and then add in the that you would want to see. So that's probably the best way that you can do this. For elite members or diamond members, we have unlimited SKUs. And so for those people who have 1,000 SKUs, who are power members, who need a little bit more help managing their business, diamond plan and elite plans are amazing for them. And for those users, we started you with your 100 top selling products. But again, you can keep adding the SKUs that you want to get more restock suggestions. And so we started you with a base, and it's kind of up to you for which SKUs you want to start to get restock recommendations on. So that's kind of the advice there. And again, this product page, we kind of have our inventory levels. Everything's based upon this month. Your product performance. We even have this new tab, which kind of gives into a little bit of like a unit profitability. Like each marginal unit you sell, you could kind of assume it's a 735 in profit. This doesn't take into account tax, refunds, PPC, but it's a good kind of approximation to say, hey, this is a semi-profitable product. I maybe want to invest in this more. And then this one actually goes into your net profit, and it is actually based upon the period that you're selecting here. You see this month, and this will match what you see on your dashboard for this specific product in the explain modal. But a nice sort of way to see everything related to a specific product all in one place. So that's the product page. Just wanted to highlight that of how you can change your assumptions and how that weaves into what you're seeing here and this reorder detail modal. And so I think the next big thing that we want to do is start to create purchase orders, right? And if we go back to this presentation, you'll see it's really about starting to complete this cycle. We started to get those recommendations, what to order and when, and now we need to start purchasing products. Eventually, you need to get things from your suppliers. And there's two types of purchase orders, right? You start with your suppliers, and you can either go directly into Amazon FBA, and that's what we call a direct purchase order from your supplier to Amazon FBA. Or you could do a local purchase order, and that's from suppliers right into your local warehouse. I think we can start off right with direct purchase order. I think this is kind of the primary way that we're seeing customers source their products, but everyone has their own way. But we'll start with direct purchase orders first. And so the number one thing that you need to do here is obviously you need to get your products from somewhere. And so this is kind of a more established account, but Bradley's already started to put in some different suppliers where he gets his products.
Guys, don't try copying these thinking that, oh, I'm going to get Bradley suppliers. These are all fake. These are all fake addresses here that we like, ooh, I'm going to get the coffin shelf factory and hijack these coffin shelf guys. These are fake. Right?
Yeah. So yeah, that's a good point. We got Walmart 15 in New York. So that's a really cool supplier right there. But I think this is a super crucial thing, and it's super cool to start tracking your suppliers within one place in your Helium 10 dashboard. And it just helps organize things. And once you start creating these suppliers, all these other pages can start to be organized by where you're getting your products from, help you manage your purchase orders, your inbound shipments, all these types of things. And so Bradley's already added in a bunch of these. I can kind of just quickly show you can add new suppliers, and we have obviously your name. You want to put in an address, choosing your country. You can add their website. You can have specific lead times for the supplier. Kind of what I was saying earlier is like you could enter in a lead time right here just for the supplier, and it would apply to all SKUs that are associated with that supplier. And then you can add in any notes related to it. But this is how you would go and create suppliers, and then you can go in and obviously find them, manage things. You can see which SKUs are associated with it. And eventually we're going to add a lot more here in terms of purchase orders and inbound shipments, and allow you to see everything related to your suppliers in one place. So just wanted to touch upon that just to show you, first, you need to create suppliers before you can start creating purchase orders, and we'll actually give you a little warning if that's not the case. But let's go into this practical example. Let's go into actually creating a purchase order. And like I said, I think Bradley said he's going to start sourcing this as a direct item. He's going to move it from his supplier all the way into Amazon FBA. And there's a little bit of production time, and then there's actual inbound shipment creation as well, which is something that we do right within this tool. And we'll get into that in a moment. So Bradley, you said FBA egg tray new, you put in your lead times and reorder frequency, and we're seeing, hey, we're a little late here. We need to order today. And it's recommending that we order 540 to help meet the demand going forward. And also it's recommending, like you said, to transfer those units that you have in your local warehouse to help your current inventory to meet the demand going forward. So the first step in creating a purchase order, we'll focus on the purchase order right now, but you can go in, you can select your SKUs, right? You might want to see, like example I showed before is like, oh, maybe you have 10 SKUs that come from one supplier. And you select that supplier, and then you can just select them all and, you know, throw them right into a purchase order. It's that fast. And again, you're not needing to update quantities yourselves. You're not needing to put in, you know, pull items from different places. But we selected FBA egg tray new. It automatically puts in our units to order. We can go back in here if we want to confirm one more time, like, hey, how is this getting to this? We can get into that right here, but we'll suggest a purchase order name. You can change this to whatever you want. Live demo purchase order. You can name it how you want. This is going to be a direct shipment. We can tell it if it's individual package or case package. This will be helpful in the future as we create inbound shipments. Bradley, should we keep it inbound individual packaging?
No, I would do case.
Case, okay. And then we obviously can check which supplier this is coming from. We kept it here flexible that you can choose any supplier, but obviously you'll know which suppliers these products are coming from. And so we'll just say egg trays. And the nice thing here is we'll also, you know, an important part of managing your inventory is knowing when these things are going to arrive and being able to track as they start to come in. But we automatically suggested your estimated arrival, right? It's September 10th. Bradley said his lead time is 60 days. And so we automatically suggested a date 2 months in the future for when this purchase order is going to arrive. And obviously you can change this how you want. Maybe you're talking with your supplier and it might be different. But we'll automatically select things based upon the SKUs that you want to add into this purchase order. One thing that I think is important to note, and I think I saw a question on this, is obviously if you're a US-based seller, you need to be aware of COVID limits. And we tried to be as visible as possible with the information that we had. And if, you know, certain SKUs are limited and you see these red badges here, if it's an FBA SKU and it's COVID limited, we'll give you a warning message here. And we do it in our sort of reorder detail modal. But definitely would recommend to look at your COVID limits and always be aware of them. And so if you're like, this is actual numbers for Bradley's egg tray, Amazon will give you some sort of, hey, this is the maximum amount of units that you can sell or put into Amazon. You're already utilizing 91 units. They have their own formula of all the inventory that's at Amazon, working inbound shipments, all types of different factors that go into utilization. And they say, hey, my maximum shipment quantity is 490 units. So that's what I can send in today, is 490 units. But we want to make sure, like right now we're saying units to reorder is 540. Helium 10 won't limit our suggestions based upon COVID limits, right? Because we want to tell you how much you should order based upon the assumptions that you gave us and how much you're selling. We'll leave it to you to tell us if you want to fulfill this a different way, right? Like maybe we say you should order 1,500 to stay in stock, but Amazon will only allow you to send in 500. So maybe you might need to send 1,000 to your local warehouse and then be aware of sending in 500 to to Amazon directly, and you want to manage it this way. We'll tell you how much you should to keep in stock, but there is some human intuition. You need to be managing your business to say, hey, I know that Amazon won't let me send all these in right now. And I'll need to figure out ways that I want to either just reduce the amount I want to order or figure out a creative way to figure out how I supply these things. And so if we go to that example, we're kind of close. We're over our max shipment quantity right now. But I think we're going to go ahead with 540 just because by the time the shipment arrives, we'll probably have way less inventory in utilization, and we'll probably be able to be under this inventory level allowed by the time we actually need to create this inbound shipment. So just go back here, we're creating a purchase order, got the FBA egg tray new, we can add more SKUs, we can adjust this quantity if we want, and it'll tell us kind of the approximate cost of the products to send this. So we're gonna go and create this, and it brings us right into this purchase order. And you'll see here, it's a direct shipment, and it kind of helps us track the different statuses of where this purchase order is created and where it will go. And you'll see it's an editing status here, which means that we're still talking with our supplier. We might be adjusting units a little bit. We might say, oh, I actually want to, buy 530 from this supplier. It'll update all our, costs. We can add in, hey, I've talked to the supplier. It's gonna be $200 to do shipping. It's gonna be like $50 in tax. And so we can save those changes, and you can kind of manage everything right from this new view. You can even cancel the purchase order if it's something you just created an error. You can export this to Excel. You can export it to PDF. So it becomes really powerful to create this in Amazon in Helium 10 and send it right over to your supplier and manage this process end to end. One thing to know here is while your purchase order, we created it, but while it's in editing status, we don't yet take it into account on your restock suggestions. And so you do need to tell us. You see there's no inventory considered on order right now. Once you're done talking with your supplier, the order is confirmed, you need to move it to this next step. And now you see here, these SKUs are now considered on order inventory. And so if we refresh this page here, our FBA egg tray new has now moved to being in stock, right? It used to say order now, but now it knows there's 530 units on the way. And now it's not going to tell you to order anymore for the time being because it knows things are coming in. And so this is when you placed your order, the supplier knows about it, they started production, and you can kind of let this sit for the next amount of time. Bradley said it's going to take 60 days to source these products. You want to make sure that you're tracking this, and you can always track all your purchase orders right from the purchase orders page, right? And so we can go in, and Bradley's got a bunch of random purchase orders that he's created. We've tested a few. You can manage all these right from one place. You can even see all your archived purchase orders that might be old. Sorry, I have something here. You can see your archive, which has some like closed, canceled purchase orders. But we keep it clean to just say, hey, these are your open purchase orders. And you got 19 in here. You have some associated cost across all these purchase orders and how many units you're expecting to come in. So nice summary metrics up here to manage your business across all purchase orders. And you can kind of track when these things are going to come in. We just created this live demo purchase order, and it's going to come in November 9th. And so it's kind of at the bottom of our list because we got a bunch of other potential purchase orders that are coming in. But again, you can, manage this by suppliers. You can track which ones are in certain statuses. Ours is considered confirmed. And so you can see our live demo purchase order. And so now that you place this, again, let's say you're just managing a small amount of SKUs. Now you can kind of wait. Your product is in manufacturing. It's being produced. It's going to be shipped. But the cool thing here is now we can go even further into this process. And we can choose when we actually want to start creating an inbound shipment. And you can do it right within Helium 10, which I think is the coolest piece here. Is we're finally completing this full end-to-end. And you have a direct shipment, which goes from amount you should order. You actually do order it, and then you actually are sending this into Amazon. And so right now we're obviously accelerating this process because we're demoing. But normally you would choose when you want to create this. Maybe it's when the supplier actually does ship the product and needs to label things and needs to know where to send it, or you might want to send it early. And Bradley, I think we can talk real quick about some people's ideas and sort of like when you should be focused on COVID limits related to inbound shipments.
Yeah. First of all, though, I mean, I don't know. I hope you guys are excited. You know, John is excited. Trust me, guys. John. Actually, no. John is not as excited as I am on this because John doesn't come from the Amazon background like a lot of us do. So, like, if you guys remember that Meganar that we did a couple months ago when I first announced the inventory management, that was like the thing that I was most excited about, was that we can create the shipments in Helium 10. Like, that just blew my mind. Like, let me know in the chat, guys. Is that not blowing your mind? Like, you can actually create FBA shipments inside of Helium 10, and it's going to assign it to, you know, which warehouse. I mean, it's just ridiculous. I mean, look at these comments here. Alex says, that's awesome. Paul says, blown. Steve says, that's cool. Crazy. I mean, that was what I know. We got an amazing team here at Helium 10, but I was just like, what? You can actually do that? That's pretty cool. So that's really, really cool. What John just showed there, guys, that you can create that in Amazon. But he brings up an excellent point, you know, for those of you who are launching products right now in Q4, or maybe had a dormant product like a Christmas or Halloween product from last year that has been dead for, you know, 8 months or so, and you're trying to launch it again. Well, you're going to get hit with the 200 limit, right? You're going to get hit with the 200 limit. So in the past, what you guys always did was you would do that, what he showed you, the direct shipment to go directly to Amazon for your big orders, you know, 500 units, 1,000 units, 2,000 units. You just set it up, goes directly from your factory in China to Amazon. You can't do that anymore during Q4 this year because Amazon has no space. So for the first order, it's requiring you to do only 200 units as a limit. And then, of course, if you have that requirement on your, or that limitation, we're going to reflect that. You know, if you try to and create some 1,000 unit shipping plan in Helium 10 and you've got that 200 limit, you're going to get an error message. We'll let you know, hey, you better slow your roll there. So guys, keep this in mind as you are creating your shipments here in Q4, that if you don't have a lot of sales velocity history, you're going to have this, what we're just calling a COVID limit. You'll see, you probably saw on a few of the screens that John showed, there'll be a little red sign showing that you've got that. So keep this in mind when you create your shipment. It's also not going to come out of your in transit until it's completely checked in to Amazon and then sold and delivered to your customer. So even if you do 200, it's not like you can go back and, hey, I'm just going to do another shipping plan for 200. You've got to wait for that stuff to be checked in, ordered by a customer, and delivered to them. And then now you'll have more that you can do. So John's going to be showing you guys a little bit more about that, but I just want to make sure everybody understands what's going on right now in Q4.
Yep. And that was a huge problem when these were first introduced, I think around March, was their new product limits. And for most products, they were limiting to around 50 units. And they're having huge problems with getting products out the door. And so like Bradley said, is even customer orders waiting around to be sold or already were sort of, you know, a customer said, hey, I want this. It would sit in their warehouse for a while. And so Amazon would still say, hey, we have all these units taking up space, so we're not going to allow you to send in more, even though now you're out of luck because everything's kind of tied up in their warehouses. They've gotten better about this. They're getting products out the door much better. They've hired thousands and thousands of employees, but it's still something to be aware of. And I think, you know, what we're talking about is we're kind of accelerating this process to start creating an inbound shipment right now. But some people actually do want to do that, right? And Bradley and I had talked about some of this sort of like the right way to do this. It really depends on the type of product and what kind of status you're in. And so number 3, I think we can highlight on, which is products that are running out of stock. You know, maybe you got only 10 days left of inventory and you've been selling really strongly. Like, you know, Bradley had a scenario like this. He was selling, you know, 30 units per day, but if he knows he's going to go out of stock in like 20 days, he might want to create an inbound shipment right now to maximize his level of, you know, max shipment quantity allowed, right? So maybe because he's had such strong sales, like Amazon doesn't know you're going to be out of stock yet. And so it still says, hey, you can send in 2,500 units. Well, Bradley might want to create that shipment right now to reserve that space, because if he waited 30 days after he was out of stock, maybe Amazon might lower his limit to like 1,000 products. And now he's got to take time to get back up to his 2,500 unit level. So I've seen people talk about that on forums. I know Bradley has that kind of expert advice. So I think that's a super great tip to let people know like when you might want to create an inbound shipment and keep it in working status and kind of reserved until you actually start shipping it. I think obviously another time that you need to be aware of these COVID limits is when you're launching a new product. And Bradley has a great blog post and kind of case study on this. But really, if you think some product's going to go gangbusters, like there's really no way around this when you just start selling your products. They're going to start you at 200 units. And if you want to be able to sell that quickly, this is where having a 3PL or local warehouse might make sense, is where you might order 1,000 units sitting at your local warehouse and you're just drip feeding in a small amount of units to just keep them in stock. And I know a lot of professional sellers are starting to do that as they are launching new products that start selling well. But otherwise, I know Bradley's heard from many people is you launch a product, you got 200 units in there and you just run out. And then you got to figure out some way to get them back in after you run out of stock. So definitely be considerate of that. And so we'll go back into this example real quick. We'll go into, you have to choose a label preference for when you're creating an inbound shipment. You know, seller just means you're going to label it yourself. What's the packaging type? We'll say case packed. You know, we'll say it's in 5 cases. And so we'll just say 5. And then where is this coming from? And you actually can change, you know, where this address. And since this came from this supplier, we automatically fill in all this information for you. But you could say like 55 Main Street. You can obviously edit it depending on what you want to do. I'll say 600, 600. I'm not sure if that's right. I don't know what the region is, but I'll just say CA.
Guangdong.
Sure. Yeah, well, it's only a two.
Oh, this is in a new city, guys, here in California, Shenzhen, California.
Yeah, exactly, Shenzhen, California. And so here again, like we said, is we're checking right live with the API, and it's a COVID limit right now because we're trying to send in 530 units. But as we saw, we only have 490 units available. So if we go below here, we can say, hey, we're actually going to send in 480, and you can adjust this as you needed. For this demo, I'm doing this, I'm adjusting my units, and it doesn't really matter. But for a user, you probably would wait until your limit gets to what you actually ordered from your supplier and want to go and create this shipment based upon it. But right now, just to make sure this demo goes through, I'm going to say 480. And right like that, we are confirming our inbound. We have been told where we're going to need to send it. It's telling us how we should label things. And then it automatically suggests a shipment ID, which you can obviously change whatever you want for what it will show up in Amazon to be. We'll confirm this. And we just created an inbound shipment right within Amazon. And now you can see we have this inbound shipments page. And these are all your real shipments pulling right from Amazon to allow you to track not only the inbound shipments that you start to create within our tool, but anything that goes into Amazon. Maybe you're doing things within Seller Central. We'll also take that into account, and we'll track those shipments as they move through their process.
Quick side note, I think we gave everybody a little bit of PTSD because they can see that all Amazon has been making Project X send everything to the Stockton warehouse. You guys, like, sometimes I'll put in my shipments. Like I said, these are actual shipments. Everybody's been complaining in the message where how many people out there have been having trouble trying to get stuff checked into the Stockton warehouse? They probably just got triggered right there, because sometimes things are taking like a month to get into stock. I've been having to deal with that too, guys. Don't worry. But
Yep, and tons of discussions about that, and that's something, again, you got to focus on your lead times, and something you might need to factor in is say, hey, they always tell me to send to Stockton, and I know it's a slower warehouse than if I sent it to some other one in the middle of the country or something like that. So we just moved those units into inbound, and again, I want to go back to our restock suggestions. Is now we're taking into account our inbound quantities, and it automatically updated to say, hey, we know this got moved to inbound. And now we'll always take into account the shipment coming in and track it and make sure these quantities, as they move to becoming kind of current, available inventory, it'll start moving automatically for you, and you don't even need to do anything after that. But one note is we're not yet fully going through the entire process of an inbound shipment yet. We're creating them in working status, and we're starting that process, but we allow you to finalize that within Seller Central. But we make that really easy to know, like, hey, this is in working status, you should be aware of it. And we can get all the information of what it's related to, where's the supplier it came from, what marketplace it's associated with. You can even go back to the purchase order where it originated from. So super cool there. And then you can even go right into Seller Central to finish up this shipment. So trying to make it as easy as possible to help manage your shipments and finish this process where your shipping service, your box contents, you just need to finish this up. And once you mark that as shipped, our inbound screen will take that into account and know it's coming in, and it'll track it as it moves through its statuses. So pretty amazing work. Again, tracking your inventory no matter where it is in the cycle. And now we've just kind of gone through the entire process. We've done this forecasting, we've gone into purchasing, and now we're into replenishing, which is those inbound shipments, and it'll move right into selling. And so we're constantly taking that into account no matter where it is in your cycle, in the cycle of your inventory management. I know we're spending time. I want to get real quick into local purchase orders, because this is such a big piece, and we've already started to have people ask us about this. But Helium 10 inventory management also helps you deal with your local warehouse quantities. And you saw that on the restock suggestions page, but you can start telling the tool what SKUs you have and what types of local quantities you have at your warehouse. And you can say, hey, this is, our local warehouse is at 500 Technology Drive, Helium 10 headquarters. And, we got all these units for these different SKUs there. And so our restock suggestions will take that into account. And we can even start creating purchase orders, these local purchase orders that go right into our local warehouse, and it'll automatically update those quantities for us. So I'm just for demo purposes, I'm gonna show you how this works. But again, this time, instead of doing a direct purchase order, I'm gonna make this a local shipment, right? And automatically named it, automatically estimated its arrival. Let's just say this is big market supplier, and it automatically populates your local warehouse. You can edit this if you want. And let's just say 2,000 units are coming in. The tool is not telling us to do this. I'm just trying to do this for demo purposes, but we'll go and create this purchase order. And again, we have specific statuses just for local shipment, just for local shipments. And so we'll go here, go back to our purchase order page. It's now here in editing status, and it says where it's coming from, where it's going to. You can edit these, you can edit your dates, edit your units, and it'll automatically update on your purchase orders page and restock suggestions. But let's just start flipping through these statuses just to let you see it. But again, this is an accelerated process. You'll move this purchase order to these different statuses as it actually happens in real life. But let's say these 2,000 units have been created, they've been transited to your warehouse, and now you're in receiving status. Now you need to tell it how many units were actually received at your warehouse. You could change this depending on if units were damaged or changed or whatever happened. But we want to say, okay, we received 2,000. And now once you move this to received, it's now confirmed, it's locked in, and these SKUs are now considered local inventory. And so if we go back to our restock suggestions page, we'll see Coffin Brown now has 2,000 units. And we'll see that the Coffin Brown is now 2,000 units in our local warehouse. So super cool to see the units move across our quantities for restock suggestions, and then automatically change your quantities for local warehouse to keep you always up to date. And so really trying to remove that sort of automatic data entry sort of, or stop you from having to do any sort of data entry any needed. So that is a local purchase order. And our final thing, just recap, now we have units at our local warehouse. How do we get them into Amazon? And so it's the same exact process where we can automatically create these inbound shipments right within the tool. And we consider this a transfer. And it goes from, hey, we already did this production, we got it to our local warehouse, and then at some later date, maybe you've packaged it up, maybe you've had to put some labeling on it, maybe you let it sit there for a while, maybe you want to actually create an inbound shipment, or what we call is a transfer from your local warehouse. And so these sort of transfer recommendations are based upon what your local lead time is. And so say, hey, you told us that your local lead time is only 6 days. And so we know you can get this to Amazon much quicker. And so that's what we base our transfer recommendations upon. It's not the 60-day lead time, it's the 6-day lead time. And so that will take that into account differently. So it's a nice sort of different sort of cadence that you're fulfilling your units from your local warehouse. But we can go right in, we got 2,000 units in our Coffin Brown, and we can go and say, create inbound FBA, same sort of thing. We're going to say it's seller labeled. Let's say it's individual packaging this time. We're going to send it in from our local warehouse. We're going to tell it, hey, I'm going to send in 400 units. And this product on Amazon doesn't have its dimensions yet. So again, we're live checking from Amazon, and we'll need to change some dimensions on there. And so we'll warn people that this is a brand new product that doesn't really have any units or many units in, but we can do this for Coffin purple maybe to test it. But transfer shipment, seller, let's see if this one works. Say 20 units are coming in. It'll tell us where to send it. We're going to confirm this shipment. And now we got 2 shipments in. We got 20 units sending in. And where previously the Coffin purple said we had 23 units at local, if we refresh the page, it should, once we confirm the shipment, it'll reduce those units down to 3 units. So it automatically remove them from your local warehouse as well as the shipment gets created. So those are all the pieces of inventory management. This is kind of a larger demo of our tool. And I know we went through a ton, but just want to recap real quick with you. What is Helium 10 inventory management? It's a powerful end-to-end solution. It stays up to date with all your changes. It keeps your quantities up to date as you move them through purchase orders and inbound shipments in your local warehouse. We have these really cool forecasting models. We allow you to take all these actions right within the tool, manage your suppliers, create your shipments, track shipments, create purchase orders, export them. It's kind of that all-in-one solution for inventory management within the all-in-one suite of Helium 10. I was mentioning it earlier, but we support North American marketplaces of United States, Mexico, and Canada. We're working to support Europe as soon as possible. There are some unique characteristics of the European marketplace related to their APIs and all sorts of stuff related to it. But we're working through those and hope to support that soon. So be on the lookout for that. And what are our plan limits? If you're a free user, we let you get a taste and see and manage your inventory. Maybe you're just starting to sell. And so we'll allow you to get restock suggestions on one SKU. If you're a platinum member, you get 20 SKUs, which I think we found will support a large part of our user base. And like I said, sellers that are selling millions of dollars a year can sometimes support that in less than 10 SKUs. They just sell very high velocity of a few SKUs. And so we think we can still provide tremendous value for those platinum members. And then as you move into becoming a higher level tier and maybe you're selling more SKUs, you might need a little bit more room. And that's where Diamond and Elite allow you to have unlimited SKUs, unlimited orders. So just tremendous value versus some of these competitors out there. And I've talked for a long time. And I think, Bradley, it's time to talk a little bit about some offers we might have for people who are listening today.
Yeah, who remembers these commercials? Like, I love this guy's accent. I can't do it though. We don't always offer discounts, but when we do, we make sure they're awesome. All right, so the first one, we just want to show you guys what you can do if you are not already signed up with Helium 10, and then we're going to get into your questions and answers. So if you're not a Helium 10 member or user at this time, you want to start off with the platinum plan. You guys saw on a slide earlier about how many SKUs you could do for forecasting there. Just right off the bat, you can go to helium10.com pricing, sign up for the platinum plan, and you're going to want to use the code inventory50, inventory50. So write that down. However, we have a additional special that might be better, and this is what I suggest you guys doing, is the diamond plan. All right. We've been talking for the last month or so about our PPC tool ads that you use with the diamond plan, and that's just like, that's worth twice the price of the diamond plan by itself. But you saw that John showed you, if you have the diamond plan, you actually get unlimited SKUs, which I don't even know if any other inventory tool out there provides that. There are some people asking, well, what if I have a 10,000 SKUs? Well, hey, it's unlimited. All right. So I'm sure you can't put 7 billion SKUs in there, but we haven't seen somebody hit our limit yet. But right now, if you want to take advantage of that and have the unlimited forecasting, try out the diamond plan for ads as well, and all the other benefits that come with the diamond, which, by the way, you can have multiple tokens now for that. You can have up to 4 Seller Central accounts connected right there. All right. So you can have unlimited SKUs. You can get 5,000 keywords. You get 10 markets instead of just 3. You get access to ads. You can get 15,000 emails and follow-ups, twice the number of alerts. You get, again, 4 tokens, 4 Seller Central accounts that you can connect, and even multi-users. So here's the code. We're going to go back to the previous slide here. Go to helium10.com/inventory25. All right. helium10.com/inventory25. And you can get 25% off, not just 1 month, but 2 months of the diamond plan. So even if you're already a Helium 10 member, you already got a platinum plan, you've got an a la carte plan, all right, etc., you can still take advantage. Sometimes our discounts, only are available to brand new users. This is one situation where we're not doing that. It's available to existing members right now. So I highly suggest you guys give it a try for a couple months. And then at the end of it, the second month or even in the first month, you're like, hey, you know what? I'm just going to go back to a platinum. No problem. You can even ask for your money back on what you had paid extra for that month. But I'm 99% sure you guys are going to stick with the diamond for these ads and inventory. So let's just, keep going here. There's also just one bonus. We're not going to have like 17 million bonuses here. This is the most valuable thing that we figure that we can offer is, you saw we just spent 90 minutes going over this, and we're still just scratching the surface of everything that needs to go inside of inventory planning. So what we've planned are 2 live inventory management trainings. They're not going to be on YouTube and stuff like this is right now, where everybody can just see it. This is only for the small group of people who are going to take advantage of this offer. You're going to have a private training with John and myself in October for refining restock suggestions, and basically any of the questions you guys have, and also how to create POs, working with suppliers. And then again, in the next 3 weeks, you guys have probably been using the tool. You'll be able to write down all your questions and ask us literally live what help you need. And this is only available for the people who sign up for that diamond special plan using that website that we had given. So any questions? Now it's time for the question and answer. You guys have been very patient, and we tried to get to as much information as possible. So what to do now? If you already put in a question 5 minutes ago, we're not going to see it right now. Go ahead and start putting your questions in. There might be a couple I might bring on live as well, but we're going to start going over these questions here. All right.
I saw one right off the bat, people talking about your local warehouse inventory. Someone was asking about, is there sort of direct connection or API access to update your local warehouse quantities? Right now, we're making you enter your local warehouse quantities right now yourself. That is the one point of manual data entry, but we're trying to remove it as fast as possible. Look for us to support sort of bulk upload very soon. So we're iterating rapidly on this product and expect changes there to improve that ability to upload quickly. And you'll be able to see that as well for suppliers and exporting and things like that. Saw some questions related to it.
All right. If you guys are already a Diamond member, I see about 10 people asking this question. We got a lot of Diamond members already. Everybody been taking advantage of our ads. You just reach out to customer support and ask to be added to those special trainings. So if you're already a Diamond member, you can go ahead and get in on those private trainings. They'll be able to know that if you're a Diamond member or not. So just send a message and intercom to customers support for that. Let's see here. Dion says, I don't understand COVID limits. Why is there such a creature? Yeah, that's a great term for it. It is kind of a beast, right? I know of COVID, but how is this affecting inventory in Amazon? So what's happening in Amazon is they've run out of space. So what they're doing is they only want to prioritize the products that have confirmed sales velocity. And so if it's a brand new product, they're limiting you to only 200 units that you can have in stock in the beginning. But I wrote a blog, guys. Go to helium10.com/blog. I wrote a detailed case study on how to get that removed. As long as you have consistent sales, even 3, 4, 5 units a day, in 13 days, you're going to have that limit doubled, if not more. So make sure to check out that blog there.
I saw one. I just wanted to clarify for people. I see Tiffany asked, for FBA shipments created inside Helium 10, will this automatically be created inside Seller Central? And yes, it will. I think that's something we want to make sure people understand is all these shipments that we just created, we just demoed these 2 shipments right here. You know, if we go into the shipment, we can go right into Seller Central and you'll see the shipment is already live within your shipping queue. And you just need to finish up these few steps before it turns into a ship status. But like I said, if you do finish that up and it turns into ship status, you know, we refresh these shipments once per day. And so you'll see that, you know, as a ship status as soon as it changes. And we'll always keep that monitored no matter if you create the shipment within Seller Central directly or if you create it within our tool. We'd obviously recommend you to create it within our tool so you can have that faster, more seamless process. But we're here to help no matter how you're creating these shipments.
All right, let's keep going. We want to get to as many of these questions as possible. We got Peter here who says, do I have to be staring at the screen or are there push notifications or email? Hey guys, this is a brand new tool. I know we tried to kind of design this with, we had some users telling us exactly what they like to see, what they don't like to see. And so this is our version 1. You guys, as you dive into this tool, you are going to have some great ideas, I know, on it. Like maybe you want emails, maybe you want this, maybe you want that. As with any of our tools, guys, we listen to every single one of your suggestions. You just got to open up a message to customer support, let them know what you'd like to see. And absolutely, I guarantee that's eventually going to get to John so that his team can view it. John, if you could just, some people were asking about that link again. So if you could just leave that one up on the screen, the slide 87 there, that has that link to the inventory 25. Sure. All right, let's see. John, your namesake here says, what about different variations? would that be classed as one SKU per variation? No, everything is SKU based. All right. So if you have 5 colors, that's 5 SKUs. You're going to get forecasting. If you have chosen that for each of those SKUs.
Yep.
Let's see. Here's one from Alan. Is it possible to have POs flow sequentially through all suppliers? Meaning supplier A's got this PO, supplier B has this one, supplier C. I mean, basically, John, what they could do is each PO they can assign to whatever supplier they want, right?
Sorry, what was the question in terms of? I would
Yeah,
imagine if you
Alan
have.
says, is it possible to have POs flow sequentially through all suppliers? Meaning supplier A has got PO number 81, supplier B has PO number 82, supplier C has PO 83, and so on, he said.
I mean, if you create them in that order, yes, you can. We also don't enforce name uniqueness in purchase orders, I don't believe. So you can kind of name them how you want. But if you want your purchase orders to be in some sort of sequential order, it really depends on how you want to do it. And you can filter and sort all your purchase orders depending on how you want. But it really depends on how you create them and those sorts of things.
All right. Excellent. Excellent. Owen says, when available in Europe?
Just touch upon that. But as I mentioned, we're supporting North American tokens at the start. And there's some unique challenges related to warehouses and APIs in Europe that are different than Seller Central in North America. Traditionally where we think about a US-based FBA warehouse fulfills US-based orders. Sometimes it can fulfill in other places like Canada, but in Europe, it's much more normal to say, hey, I just sell out of Germany and I sell to every single country from a German FBA warehouse. And so there's some challenges there, especially when we're starting to try and attribute inbound shipments to certain marketplaces and where inventory is being depleted per token and per marketplace. And so we're working through that, but it's something we're focused on. We want to add support. There's not many other software tools that have figured it out yet, but we're hoping to be one of the first.
All right, let's keep it going here now with the questions. Somebody had a problem with the website, but I just tested it right now, so it seems to be working. If anybody else has issues, let us know. If you've already signed up for the helium10.com/inventory25, let us know in the comments. We'll give you a shout out here. Don't forget, guys, there's only a few minutes left. So if you guys want the Helium 10 mask, make sure, remember, take a selfie of yourself, tag Helium 10 software in Instagram. All right, let's keep going here. Peter says the tool picks up and allows for periods you are out of stock. What about lightning deals? I mean, whatever activity, Peter, that you have, like if you had a lightning deal, hey, that's going to be reflected in your sales velocity. So it's going to pick that up for the forecasting. If you had your own promotion you're doing on social media, it's going to pick it up. If you're out of stock, it's going to pick it up. If your listing gets suppressed because of some ridiculous thing that happens on Amazon, like the coffin shelf for the last 32 hours, it'll be picked up. Like we could even show you the coffin shelf because it got suppressed on Amazon. Don't get me started on that, guys. Anyways, let's keep it going here with the questions.
Yeah, one person, going along with that question, talking about lightning deals, like that's going back to forecasting and adjusting for sort of overestimations, right? Just because you had some sort of 1,000 units in a day doesn't mean you're going to do that in the future. And so we also try to normalize for periods where we feel like there's unnatural sort of spikes. And so we're refining that process, but we do see if it is a random out of the blue, sales spike and you probably did some sort of lightning deal or some crazy promotion, we're not going to expect you to forecast in the future those sales. And so that'll help you sort of prevent from over ordering in the future. So we try to adjust for both those stock outs and those spikes.
All right, let's keep it going here. Will there be a way to draw out the restock limits to the tool? Hey guys, like I said, I see tons of great ideas here. Get these in. Send it in to support@helium10.com. Attention inventory suggestions. All right. Or you can do that through intercom. All of these features that you don't see yet, we'd love to hear what you guys want. Same thing. Kevin said forecasting non-Amazon sales. Let us know all this stuff. Let us know, guys. Let's see.
I think we see a lot of questions around multi-channel, and some more advanced sellers are starting to sell in different locations, maybe their own website, maybe Shopify, or even into retail. It's something that we're definitely considerate of. Right now, we wanted to focus on our core customer base of Amazon sellers, but we're definitely aware that the world is and sellers sometimes have other places in which they sell. And so we're definitely interested in helping support that in the future, but that's not something we can support right now.
Well, Rami says, is the info of our supplier sent to Amazon in any way? I don't want Amazon to know the address and name of my supplier. Well, remember, whenever the only way that that's going to happen is if you are putting the supplier's shipping address as the origin, which, you choose what you put as the origin address. And if you're creating a shipment in Amazon, you're going to do that anyways. But if you're putting in like a quote unquote fake address there when you do your Seller Central orders, and you want to keep doing that, you absolutely can just go ahead and keep doing that within the Helium 10 tool as well. But no, we're not like sharing your POs or anything with Amazon. That's completely restricted on our on the private database in your own Helium 10 account.
Yep. And I think that's a great question, because another benefit to this, Amazon is doing some small sort of pieces related to restock recommendations and stuff. But one of the number one things that I think people are afraid of is sharing this type of information with Amazon. And that's why the especially valuable piece of having this in a separate provider is keeping this outside of Amazon, starting to like track your cost data and your suppliers and your purchase orders and stuff, which I think a lot of people don't want to do.
All right. Alan says, is exponential and additive available for Platinum? So are forecasting, all the different forecasting models available for all levels?
Yes.
Okay. Excellent. Sean says, how many days of inventory are used before the recommended to transfer now button shows up?
It depends on your assumptions, right? Again, this we'll have some sort of forecast, and it depends on what your lead times are and your reorder frequency. But it also depends on the levels of inventory. And so we also base your transfer suggestions based upon a different level of quantities. So your restock suggestions will take into account your current inbound, on order, and local inventory, but your transfer suggestions doesn't care about on order inventory, right? It only cares about what's at Amazon and what's coming into Amazon, right? Because it wants to tell you, like, you have this amount of inventory, and if you don't have any at Amazon or coming into Amazon, then you're going to need to transfer from your local warehouse. So it's a slightly different calculation using quantities of inventory that actually matter for a local warehouse. Because let's say if you had 50,000 units at your local warehouse, it's never going to tell you to reorder from a supplier. It's just going to keep telling you to replenish from your local warehouse. So it's smarter in that it's not taking into account quantities that don't matter.
All right, here, Francis, I see you got your hand up here. I'm going to go ahead and unmute you, Francis. Let's just try something. We're just doing all kinds of new stuff today. Francis, go ahead and give us your question.
Yes. Hi.
Hello.
I wrote. Can you hear me?
Yep. Go ahead.
Okay. I wrote a couple of questions here, actually. First of all,
don't be greedy, Francis. Give us just one. We got to give other people a chance here.
I know. Let's see. Okay. When you first order products from the supplier here, do I send them directly to Amazon warehouse?
Oh, that's a great question. Thank you for that. I'm going to go ahead and mute you now. Yeah, that's what we were talking about. You have two different ways. We have the direct shipment that you could set up. And if you don't have inventory limitations and you don't have your own warehouse, well, that's absolutely what you would want to do. You'd want to ship directly from your supplier to your to Amazon. but you are probably going to have to do the local shipment as well, because yes, if you have inventory limitations, or if your supplier's minimum order quantity is more than you can send into Amazon, you're going to have to split that shipment and send some to your local warehouse, just like John has here on the screen. So you can go both ways, Francis. Thank you for that question. Let's keep going here. How do you, oh no, actually Kevin asked that same exact question almost. So Kevin and Francis are on the same page. Kevin's question was, how do you handle a situation where you order 1,000 units from your factory, but need to ship some to Amazon and some to the local warehouse? Well, you would set up that shipment from Amazon to the warehouse, but overall your PO will show how much you have on order total, right? So that's going to show up in your system. But when you actually create the ship to go to Amazon, you would only set it for the amount that you're sending directly to Amazon.
Mm-hmm. And that's a good point as well, related to these sort of users who are fulfilling things into their local warehouse and then fulfilling into Amazon. They might have a little bit more leeway in terms of how much they want to order, right? So Amazon recommends that you kind of keep 2 to 3 months of inventory in FBA. But if you have the luxury of your own local warehouse or a 3PL that might have less cost for storage, maybe you want to set your sort of number of months you want to order to be a longer period of time, right? It depends on your sort of way that you're fulfilling your inventory. But maybe say, hey, I want to order 5 months of inventory at one time, and I want to store it in my local warehouse. And then I'm going to send like 1 month at a time into Amazon from my local warehouse. So your lead times really depend on how you want to manage your business, and it'll react accordingly. But you need to put in the right sort of assumptions based upon that.
All right, let's keep it going here. Joel says, will the system remember and update my lead time after I've made a few shipments through it? You need to control that. All right. Yeah. So, it can't detect, it's not going to connect to your shipping company's tracking system for Unicargo or something like that, so it knows how long it took. You've got to make sure that you update how long it's going to take. So I mean, that should be part of your process when you first talk to your factory. Is like, all right, how long is it going to take? How long is the shipping going to take? It might not be exact, but you put those in, and then if it's different, now you know for next time you gotta put in some different numbers there. Let's see. How do you attribute transfer units to a purchase order? Well, it's not attributed to the purchase order. The transfer units is stuff that you're not doing. The purchase order is from you to your supplier. So if you have transfer units, that means you already have it at your local warehouse or your 3PL warehouse. And that's something that was ordered beforehand. So that's separate from a purchase order. Does the tool this is from Paul. Does the tool update an average lead times on a per SKU basis? It seems that it records the creation date and completion date from order to receive. Do you understand that question, John? Is at 12:38 p.m. Paul, does the tool update an average lead times on a per SKU basis? I mean, that answer is yes. Not the lead time, but the sales is there. But as far as lead times, yes, you also put in per SKU, right?
Yes, and that goes into your product page. So let's say we go to FBA Coffin, you can put in certain assumptions for this specific SKU if you wanted to, and you could go through, and every single SKU, if you wanted individual sort of assumptions, you could attribute it to those. So completely flexible to how you source your inventory.
Maria says, how can I have the inventory management functions in my Helium 10? Currently, I can't see it. It should be, if you guys, anybody who's a Helium 10 member, just click into profits and you guys will see it there on the left-hand side, as you guys can see from John's screen there. And for whatever reason, you only have the profits dashboard and products and the original ones, open up a case with Seller Central and they'll help you out.
Yep. And again, just to remind people, if you haven't connected a North American token, so if you're still seeing demo data, you're not going to see this. And if you're only an EU token, you're also not going to see this. So if you do have a North America token, you're still not seeing it, just send us a message on support@helium10.com and we can obviously look into it.
Steve is wondering about the security of the data. Again, maybe concerned that Amazon might see it or something like that. Again, as with everything at Helium 10, it's 100% contained within between Helium 10 and you. It's not shared with anybody. And again, no, we're not private label sellers here trying to make a buck. That you think we're going to steal your information. Remember, Manny Coates, who founded the company, he started out as a big Amazon seller. But as soon as he started Helium 10, he transferred all that to his brother. We've always, from day one, wanted to make sure there's no kind of signs of impropriety. We're not trying to profit off of your information. So you can be completely 100% trust that it's going to stay confidential, Steve. Let's see. All right. We got some questions about connectivity to accounting software. That would be another one of those things that falls into the category of, let us know in the suggestions what you're looking for. And, if it's something that can be doable, we definitely consider it. Another good suggestion here. From Alex, when you create a PO or transfer from a local warehouse, is there an option to add tracking details to the shipment or additional notes field? Let us know these kind of things, guys. This is great stuff. Can you please, this is from Tom, can you please re-explain the reorder frequency? Okay, so this is some people, they say, hey, you know what? I only want to order every 6 months. So that means even though, the tool is only going to tell me I need to, have this much of inventory to last for 60 days or something by default, some people want to have, hey, I only want to order twice a year. So then it's going to base its suggestions on how often you want to order. Some people want to say, hey, I'm cool with ordering every single month, all right, every 30 days. All right. So we'll make suggestions based on that as well.
Yep. And that's why I like to say a little bit of, it's kind of like your breathing room, because it's just kind of telling the tool, hey, you want to have your inventory last for a certain amount of time. And it is beneficial to have, a month, maybe 2 months. It depends on how confident you are and how quickly you can source. But having a little bit of that breathing room and reorder frequency is purely just, hey, how long do I want to wait until from my last order arriving till I want to place my next order? And that's how we account for reorder frequency. And so, going back to this example, like if you wanted to only have 5 days of reorder frequency, but your lead time is 30 days, right? You get your shipment and you're going to need to place a new shipment. You get your shipment, then you're going to need to place a new shipment. It's a little bit tiring and also doesn't allow for much room for error, right? And that's why people have a little bit longer reorder frequency sometimes, because it just allows you to have a little time to change. And like we said, like if your sales start to pick up, your reorder time might actually decrease, and that's when you want to have ordered, a different amount up front to help account for any sort of changes or things like that.
Real quick, John, I've seen this question a couple of times, such as David and others. Dummy's guide to what's the difference between additive and exponential.
Yeah, I can go back to that. Where are we at? The slides. So Helium 10 exponential and Helium 10 additive. Exponential is one we default you to. It's good for SKUs with less data points, so under a year or unstable sales. And so it's a little bit more forgiving for those types of scenarios. But also is the thing about additive is that it's better understanding of trend and seasonality. So it's perfect for these types of holiday time periods when you've sold for more than a year, because we can help see your sales history and account for those types of growth changes, right? Is like this exact type of scenario where the sales spike every single December, like additive will be very good at picking that up, where an exponential might not be as good at picking that up. It's more for recent changes. It might be one for where you're kind of in a, middle of the year, or like Bradley, he hasn't yet sold for more than a year on his FBA coffin. And so additive won't really help him out with the seasonality and stuff like that. But I would recommend using additive for those times where you could have some pickups in terms of seasonality and things like that.
All right. I totally forgot that we have a bunch of viewers on YouTube too. So let me try and do it. ABC1 says, Bradley, which blog are you talking about? So you can just look there at inventory restrictions. When you go to helium10.com/blog, just look, like type in the search inventory restrictions, and then you'll see it. Or it's one of the top 10 blogs. It's like the number 4 blog there on the top 10 list right there on the helium10.com/blog. Dorothy says from YouTube, is there any training in the Platinum plan, or is there a video in the Helium 10 Learn More? There will be, hopefully by next week. This was kind of like the launch of our training on it. So you'll be able to go back on the replay on YouTube to be able to see some of this training. But we'll have in the Learn button, we'll have in the next couple of weeks some more videos for you guys. One more for YouTube that I see, Eroslav. Or Iaroslav says, if I will create a shipment in Seller Central, will I be able to see the progress of it in Helium 10? Yes. Those ones that we were showing that I showed you guys, it said all of Stockton for egg trays and common shelves. Those were all actually created in Seller Central because I created those way before we even had this tool active in the account. And you could see the status of them right there in your Helium 10 account. All right, let's keep it going here. Jennifer says, are your recommendations for total market share or just our sales? John, it's based on their sales, right?
Yeah, it's definitely based on your sales. It almost sounds like a market tracker question, but yes, we only take into account your sales for your forecasts.
Alejandro says, can you explain one more time, what do we get more with the Diamond plan just besides adding more SKUs? I mean, that's what you get for inventory management. But remember, you get the complete PPC management tool. You get more tokens, you get more keywords to track, more emails, more markets to track, etc. There's a lot of benefits of the Diamond plan. The one that's specific to what we're talking about today is now you have an unlimited number of SKUs that you can have the forecasting for. All right, let's see here. I see. I'm not mentioning some of these guys because these almost all fall under the category of, looks like, you know, some feature requests. So make sure, guys, just because you put it here in the Q&A, this is not going to get like written down somewhere. If you want to get your voice heard for your feature suggestions, send in that message to customer support. We keep a file that John reviews on all of our feature requests. So make sure to send some of these great ideas there. Let's see. Does reorder units in forecasting take into consideration POs that are confirmed? Yes, they do. Yes, they do. Great question, David. Roland says, is there going to be an integration with Walmart? Hey, if that's what people want, we might look into that. So don't forget to send that in as a feature request. Can we manually, this is from Sorrel, can we manually update the quantity levels if we have info from other marketplaces? If you're talking about your local warehouse, yes. You know, if you want to, hey, you're fulfilling stuff to Shopify, you're fulfilling stuff to Walmart or whatever, and now instead of 1,000 units, a week later, you only have 800 units, you can absolutely just go right in there and adjust your inventory level.
We do want to get people also, I know we want to answer just a few more. We also will want to remind people we will have a survey after this webinar. So we want to make sure that you do help us out, give us some feedback there. But Bradley, I don't know, 2 more questions and then we can.
2 more questions sounds pretty fair. I like it. All right. Let's keep going here. Man, you guys are great. You guys asked a lot of questions today. Let's see. Regarding the transfer now, if I'm, what if I'm sending my product from a warehouse in China to Amazon? It would be the same thing. So I'm assuming you mean you own the product, but actually your 3PL warehouse is in China and you're just creating a shipment to go, you know, directly from your local warehouse. If that's what you're considering, if you're considering the inventory in your Chinese warehouse as your local inventory, then yes, the transfer order would work just as it would from a 3PL warehouse. Obviously, it would just take a lot longer to ship than something from California to California.
Mhm. And
One more. Why don't you pick the last question, John?
yeah, just for that, if you're considering a warehouse like that as your local warehouse, you would need to adjust your local lead time, which you can do in settings to account for that extra time it would actually take to get to Amazon. So again, if you're telling us the software that it takes 10 days, but it actually takes 60, again, these suggestions are going to be out of whack. This last question. Let's see.
A lot of quick. I think I
There's-
have a prediction on you're going to get a lot of QuickBooks requests here, John.
Yeah,
So
I've
come
seen
up
a lot of QuickBooks things. Last question, again, I think this is a great one just to reiterate. How do the orders created in Helium 10 get to our suppliers? And that's where we can go into your purchase orders, right? And you can go to any one of your purchase orders. Let's just say the one we created here. And you can export this to Excel or PDF, and then you send that right over to your supplier. So again, all these quantities and the costs and everything like that will be populated in your export, and you can send that right over to them. So it helps with creating those purchase orders and sending and working with your suppliers.
All right, guys, thank you so much for joining us. We hope you learned something. We didn't want to make this just about, let's celebrate the launch of a new tool, but we wanted to hopefully give you guys some strategy regardless. Even if you're not using Helium 10 for inventory management, you definitely should go back and watch this to learn some of the strategy that John was giving about how to manage your inventory. This is something that I think we were making a joke at the beginning, but so many of you, including myself in the past, are guilty of just using that whole intuition methodology on trying to calculate your inventory. And like I have with Project X, you've probably run out of stock, or you've had too much stock and had to pay a lot of storage charges to Amazon. So this is a very, very important aspect of your Amazon business that sometimes we don't pay enough attention to. So go back, watch this over a couple times. Even if you don't have Helium 10, I guarantee you're going to get some good knowledge on some of those models that John was talking about there. And if you are using Helium 10, start diving in, guys. We want to know all the ideas you have on how we can make this tool even better for you. We saw some great ideas here. Make sure to write those down, send them into support. We want to hear from you on what you love about this tool, what you would like to see in order to love it more. John, thank you so much for coming on here. Like you guys, you don't know how much of a relief it is to know I didn't have to write another webinar here. This was 100% John created this thing from scratch, saving me tens of hours of sleep that I probably would have lost like when I normally have to do these things. So John, thank you so much for running the show today and bringing your knowledge and for bringing this tool to us, because this was one of your pet projects here. So we really appreciate it. Any last words of wisdom for the team here, John?
No, I just say thank you guys for joining today. Hopefully it was helpful in helping you understand the tool and also this challenge and how we can help make it easier for you and help save you time. So we're really excited about this tool. As Bradley mentioned, we're going to keep improving rapidly and adjusting to your feedback. So we're always open to hear how we can help meet your needs and help you solve some challenges as an Amazon seller. So appreciate your guys' time.
All right, guys, thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you guys next week, next Friday. Don't forget, when we make an announcement, we'll have another PPC live Q&A that we're going to do, and just stay connected to us on all of our social media channels, YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Helium 10 users, and FBA High Rollers Group. We're always giving you guys free information and little workshops like this on different parts of the Amazon journey. And until the next time we see you guys, stay safe. Have a great weekend. We'll see you guys later.